My daughter's rich in-laws disrespected me at her wedding. He shouldn't be in the photos, her MIL said. So I gave her a reality check. All right, Reddit. I'm not the type to get involved in my kids' relationships. Raised my daughter to stand on her own, handle her problems, not take crap from anyone. But what these people pulled at her wedding crossed a line. Spent 3 weeks cooling off before writing this because I didn't want to be just a ticked-off dad. Nah, this story needs to be told. I, 55 male, grew up in a Rust Belt town outside Pittsburgh where your options were steel mill, coal mine, or get the heck out. The old man was a union electrician. Mom cleaned houses until her knees gave out. Good people who taught me nobody's coming to save you, so you better save yourself. I went into the trades right out of high school. Started as an apprentice electrician at 18, pulling wire through commercial buildings for $12 an hour. Spent 5 years learning everything, getting every certification possible, watching how contractors operated. At 23, took out a loan, bought a used truck, started Miller Electric. Just me, a tool belt, and a cell phone. Bid on small jobs, residential stuff mostly, actually showed up when I said I would. Word spread that I was reliable, did quality work, and didn't jerk people around on pricing. Small jobs became bigger jobs. Bigger jobs became commercial contracts. By 30, I had a crew of 15. By 35, I was running one of the largest electrical contracting companies in Western Pennsylvania. Did everything from strip malls to hospitals to manufacturing plants. But I didn't stop there. Started buying the buildings we were wiring. Commercial real estate, office parks, industrial properties. Amazing how much money you can make when you own the building and do the electrical work and property management all in-house. Over 25 years, built Miller Electric into a regional powerhouse, then expanded into Miller Properties for commercial real estate development and management. Created a holding company and started acquiring other businesses, mostly in property management and construction. Kept the Miller Electric name because that's where I came from, and I'm not about to forget it. By the way, not flexing or anything, but you need to get the full image here. I still dress like an electrician most days. Jeans, work boots, company polo shirt. Drive a Ford F-250 because it's practical and I can throw tools in the back if needed. The house is nice but not ridiculous. 4-bedroom colonial in a good neighborhood. Not interested in impressing anyone with fancy cars or designer clothes. That's not who I am. Wife Hannah died when our daughter Riley was 7. Breast cancer, fast and brutal. Just the two of us after that, and I made dang sure she understood her mom's death didn't mean her life was over. Grieved together, then built together. Taught her how to change a tire, read a blueprint, negotiate, and most importantly, spot nonsense from a mile away. Riley put herself through state college with scholarships, part-time jobs, and some help from me. Could have paid for the whole thing 10 times over, but she wanted to earn it. Respected that. Got her degree in architecture, then her master's, started working at a respected firm in Philadelphia. Earned every promotion, every project, every bit of respect in that field. She knows I'm successful, knows I own a good-sized company, and we're comfortable financially. What she doesn't know is the full extent of everything. The holding company, the acquisitions, the commercial real estate portfolio worth more than most people see in 10 lifetimes. I kept it quiet because I wanted her to build her own life. Didn't want her to know dad could solve any problem with a checkbook. You know, that's not how I raise my child. And I'm proud as heck of that kid. She's smart, tough, and doesn't take crap from anyone. Watching her earn respect through work instead of connections makes every early morning and late night worth it. So 8 months ago, Riley called me up, excited as heck. Met someone, they're serious, and want me to meet him. Name's Connor, got an MBA, works in his family's property management business. Great, finally. She's 29 and has been so focused on career. Met at some upscale restaurant in downtown Philly. Connor shows up first, and I like him immediately. Firm handshake, looks me in the eye, asks good questions about my business. Genuinely seems to really care about my daughter, and treats the waiter with respect. That last one matters more than most people realize. Then his parents arrive. And these people? A real piece of work. Gregory and Ellen Ashton rolled up in a Mercedes S-Class. Gregory's wearing a suit that probably costs $3,000 and a watch that costs more than most people's cars. Ellen's dripping in jewelry with that frozen face from too much Botox. Both in their early 60s, carrying themselves like they're doing everyone a favor just by existing. The handshake Gregory gave me was one of those limp, barely touching things. Ellen looked at my calloused hands like I just crawled out of a sewer. Then Gregory gave me that fake smile. So, you're a contractor? Made it sound like I collected garbage for a living. Electrician by trade, I said. built it into a commercial contracting company. We do electrical work for office buildings, hospitals, and industrial facilities. How industrious, Ellen said, eyeing my hands. Riley's voice cut in, sharp as glass. Dad's company has over 100 employees and contracts all over the region. Electrical contracting and property development. Right, right! Gregory waved his hand like he was swatting a fly. Then, he waved his hand dismissively and asked if I'd heard of Ashton Property Group. I had heard of them. More specifically, my acquisition team had sent me a detailed report more than a year earlier when we bought the holding company that owned them. Ashton Property Group was hemorrhaging money, had multiple lawsuits from tenants about building conditions, and a management team that couldn't organize a two-car funeral. 3 months from bankruptcy when my company stepped in and acquired them through enough corporate layers to keep my name completely off the paperwork. But I just smiled and said I hadn't heard of them. Gregory looked pleased, like he'd confirmed I was exactly as small-time as he'd assumed. Started going on about how they manage premium commercial and residential properties throughout the Delaware Valley, high-end clients, exclusive locations, and a very specialized market. Rest of the dinner was them name-dropping properties, clients, and connections while barely acknowledging me. Connor tried several times to include me in the conversation, asking about projects I'd worked on, but his parents would steamroll right over him with another story about their yacht club or vacation home. Riley was getting visibly annoyed. At one point when Ellen made a comment about working-class values, Riley put down her fork hard enough that it clanked against the plate. She told them I built my company from nothing, started with a truck and a tool belt, now have over 100 employees and contracts all over the region, that it takes more skill and intelligence than inheriting a family business. Connor backed her up immediately, saying, starting from scratch is significantly harder than taking over an established company. Gregory and Ellen exchanged a look that clearly said how adorable the children are defending him before changing the subject to wedding planning. When the check came, I grabbed it before Gregory could even pretend to reach for it. Saw the surprise on his face when he glanced at the total, probably shocked a contractor could drop $600 on dinner without blinking. As we were leaving, Ellen's voice carried, loud enough for me to hear. Well, Riley seems lovely despite her unconventional background. I'm sure we can help guide her into more appropriate social circles. Riley stopped dead. I put my hand on her shoulder. Not worth it, I said quietly. Let it go. In the parking lot, Connor apologized profusely. Said his parents can be difficult. Riley called them openly condescending. Connor looked angry and said he told them to be respectful, but they don't know how. That's when I liked this kid more and more. He had a backbone even if his parents didn't appreciate it. Told them both not to worry about me, to focus on each other. But I was already thinking about what I knew about Ashton Property Group and exactly how much power I had over their entire operation. The irony was almost funny. Almost. Engagement happened 2 months later. Connor proposed at some park where they'd had their first date. Riley said yes. I was genuinely happy for them. Then wedding planning started, and that's when things really went off the rails. Ellen called Riley the day after engagement to inform her, not ask, that they'd be handling all wedding arrangements. Said they have connections at the best venues and want this done properly. Done properly. Riley called me after fuming. Ellen's trying to take over everything. Keeps making comments about teaching her their way of doing things and introducing her to the right people. Connor's been arguing with them, telling them to back off, but they're not listening. His dad actually threatened to cut him off financially if they don't do the wedding their way. Asked what Connor said to that. Riley said he told them to go ahead and said they'd elope if they kept pushing. Told Riley to let them plan their big fancy wedding if it makes things easier for her and Connor. I'll contribute what I want to contribute, and they can't stop me. But the day is about them, not the Ashtons. Don't let them steal your joy. Riley said they're being so disrespectful to me, but I told her I've dealt with worse. Focus on marrying a good man. That's what matters. What I didn't tell her was, I'd already instructed my CFO to prepare a complete financial analysis of Ashton Property Group. I wanted to know exactly how bad their situation was and what leverage I had if things escalated. Venue selection was the first major battle. Ellen insisted on their country club, Brookhaven Reserve, apparently the most exclusive club in the Philadelphia suburbs. Connor and Riley wanted a barn venue they'd found that was more relaxed and personal. Ellen shot it down immediately. A barn? Are you serious? What will people think? Absolutely not. Brookhaven is where the Ashton family has held every major event for 3 generations. Not breaking tradition for some rustic fantasy. Connor tried to argue, but Gregory backed Ellen up, saying Connor's marrying into expectations. Time to start meeting them. Riley was ready to call the whole thing off. I could hear it in her voice when she called me. Can't do this. Not having a wedding at some snobby country club where they're going to look down on everyone she cares about. Told her to hold on, let me handle this. So I called Gregory directly the next day. Gregory, it's Vince Miller. I wanted to talk about the wedding venue. Oh, Vince, good to hear from you. A fake friendly voice dripping through the phone. I assume you're calling to thank us for hosting at Brookhaven. We're covering the entire venue cost. Quite generous considering. Actually, I'm calling to make you an offer. Riley and Connor want that barn venue. It's their wedding. They should have what they want. I'll cover the entire cost. Venue, catering, bar, everything. You and Ellen can be guests and enjoy the day. Long pause on his end. That's not necessary. We have the Brookhaven booking. Cancel it. I'm paying for the barn venue. My daughter's wedding, my money, my choice. Unless you want to start a family war before the marriage even happens. Another pause. This is highly irregular. So is try to control your future daughter-in-law's wedding against her wishes. We got a deal or not? He backed down. Probably didn't want to admit to his wife he'd been outmaneuvered by a contractor. The wedding was moved to the barn venue, and I wrote a check for $30,000 without blinking. Ellen was furious, but there was nothing she could do about it. That should have been the end of it. But these people were just getting started. The guest list was the next battle. Ellen wanted to invite her entire social circle, people Riley had never met. Connor's younger sister Blair, 25, and the only decent member of his family, called Riley and warned her they're planning to turn the wedding into a networking event for their business connections, heard them talking about it, and wanted to invite people to show off they're still relevant despite their company struggling. Blair had always been the black sheep of the Ashton family. Rejected their lifestyle, moved to Seattle, hadn't spoken to her parents except when absolutely necessary, flying in for the wedding because she loves Connor and wants to support him. With Blair's warning, Riley put her foot down. Our wedding, our guest list, you can invite your immediate family and 20 friends. That's it. Ellen lost her mind. 20 friends. Do you have any idea who we are? The connections we have? This is absurd. Connor backed Riley up saying it's their wedding. Those are the rules, take it or leave it. Gregory tried money as leverage. We're paying for a significant portion of this wedding. I cut him off. No, you're not. I'm paying for the venue, the catering, the bar, the flowers, and the music. You're paying for nothing unless Riley and Connor ask you to, which means you have no leverage here. His face was priceless. Ellen turned to me with pure venom. This is highly inappropriate. You're inserting yourself into family business. I'm Riley's father. This is exactly my business. You tried to hijack my daughter's wedding to show off for your friends? That ends now. She wasn't done, though. Well, I hope you're prepared for the social embarrassment of having a wedding at a barn. I'm sure your working-class friends will feel right at home with the hay bales and mason jars. Riley stood up. Get out. Excuse me? Get out of my apartment. You're not welcome here until you can show basic respect to my father and me. Connor stood up next to her. You heard her. Leave. Connor! How dare you kick your own parents? They left, and the next 3 months of wedding planning was a cold war. Ellen sent passive-aggressive emails about dress codes and appropriate behavior for the ceremony. Gregory made snide comments to Connor about disappointing the family. They refused to participate in any planning meetings, told Connor they'd show up on the day, but wouldn't pretend to be happy about it. Fine by me. Fewer headaches. Darren leaned over. Boss, you want me to accidentally drop a drink on those people at the reception? He was completely serious. I laughed. Tempting, but no. Let them dig their own graves. I'm just watching at this point. You're a better man than me, Darren said. Someone talk to my daughter like that. I'd be in jail. The week before the wedding, I got a call from my attorney. I'd wanted to know if there were any developments with Ashton Property Group. He said they're in worse shape than we thought, dipping into operating funds to maintain their personal lifestyle, multiple tenant lawsuits pending. Board is getting nervous. If someone doesn't intervene soon, the whole thing collapses within 6 months. Told him interesting timing, hold off on any interventions until after the wedding. Want to see how this plays out. The wedding day was perfect weather. Clear skies, 75 degrees, light breeze. The barn venue looked amazing. Riley and her bridesmaids decorated it with string lights and wildflowers. Exactly what she and Connor wanted. I put on my best suit, a charcoal gray one I'd had custom made in Philadelphia. I looked at myself in the mirror and thought, yeah, this is good. This is respectful. This is exactly what a father should wear to his daughter's wedding. Got to the venue early to check on things and ran into Ellen almost immediately. She was wearing a designer dress that probably cost more than most people's rent and enough diamonds to fund a small country. Looked me up and down with barely concealed disgust. She asked if that's what I'm wearing. Said, yep, something wrong with it. She said, no, nothing's wrong. It's just, well, Gregory is wearing Tom Ford, and Connor has on Armani, and she thought perhaps I might want to change into something more appropriate. Told her this is a $2,000 suit from one of the best tailors in Philadelphia. It's appropriate. Her face tightened. Then she dropped this. Well, it's your choice, though I hope you won't be in too many photos. We want the pictures to have a certain aesthetic. I stared at her for a second. The nerve on this woman was unbelievable. She was talking as if it's my neighbor's wedding, not my own daughter. I stepped closer to her. Let me make things crystal clear here. I am Riley's father. I'm walking her down that aisle. I'm giving a speech, and I'm going to be in as many photos as my daughter wants me in. If you have a problem with that, there's the exit. She didn't like that. She opened her mouth to say something, but I just walked away from her. The ceremony itself was beautiful. Riley looked stunning in her dress. Connor looked happy as heck. When I walked her down the aisle, she squeezed my arm and whispered, "Thanks for everything, Dad. For all of it. I love you." "I wouldn't miss it for the world, kid," I told her. During the vows, Riley and Connor had written them themselves, and there wasn't a dry eye in the place. Even Blair was crying. The Ashtons sat in the front row looking like they were at a funeral instead of a wedding. But whatever. Not my problem. Then came the reception. And that's when things really went sideways. Overheard Gregory holding court with some suits I didn't recognize. You know, this is quite the come down from what we'd planned. But Connor insisted on accommodating his bride's preferences. We tried to guide them toward Brookhaven, but apparently rustic is in style now. Said rustic like it was a disease. One of the men asked, "How did Connor meet this girl again?" "Graduate school. She's an architect and works for some firm in the city. Her father's a contractor, does electrical work or something. A very humble family." There was that word again, like it was an insult. "Well, you must be helping them get established." "Oh, absolutely. Connor's working at Ashton Property Group now, learning the business. We're grooming him to eventually take over, though between you and me, we've had to carry him a bit. He didn't exactly have the connections or the background to hit the ground running. Nearly crushed the bottle in my hand. Connor had an MBA from a top program and had been working his butt off at their failing company for the past year. And this guy was dismissing all of it because Connor hadn't been born with a silver spoon in his mouth. Riley appeared at my elbow. "I heard that too. You want me to say something?" "No. Let him talk. He's about to learn a very important lesson about running his mouth." Dinner service was fine. The food was great. The barn looked amazing with all the lights. Riley and Connor looked happy. That's what mattered. But I couldn't shake the anger from overhearing Gregory's comments. Then came the speeches. The best man went first, told some funny college stories, normal wedding stuff. Maid of honor spoke about how Riley was the strongest person she knew and how Connor was lucky to have her. Then Gregory stood up. No note cards, no preparation, just grabbed the microphone and started talking. When Connor told us he was dating someone from a different background, Ellen and I were curious. Pause. A few uncomfortable laughs. But we've always been open to new experiences, helping others reach their potential. I felt Riley tense next to me. Connor's face went red. We're happy to welcome Riley into the Ashton family. And I'm even happier that Connor has joined Ashton Property Group, where we can teach him the business and provide opportunities. Blair muttered loud enough for nearby tables to hear. "Oh my gosh." Gregory kept going, oblivious. "Riley, we admire your father for raising you alone. Now you're part of something bigger. We're excited to help you both build a life together and ensure you have access to opportunities that come with being part of the Ashton family." Riley stood up, just stood up at her own wedding, and the mic picked up her voice. "Are you serious right now?" Gregory looked confused. "I'm just saying, you're insulting my father and my husband at my wedding. Sit down." "Riley, I think you're being overly sensitive." Connor stood up next to her. "Dad, sit down. Now." Ellen tried to salvage it. "Oh, don't be so dramatic. Gregory is just expressing, by dismissing everything my father built." Riley's voice was steel. "By acting like Connor wouldn't have a career without you? I'm done. We're done. Say one more condescending word and you can leave." Man, I was proud as heck. That's my girl. There was a beat of applause from a few tables, but Riley waved it off and pulled Connor away from the awkwardness. Darren leaned over asking if I wanted him to do something. Told him not here. Riley handled it. That's all that matters. Gregory and Ellen stood there looking uncomfortable as the DJ quickly started the next song. Blair was shaking her head in disbelief. Caught Riley's eye and gave her a thumbs up. The rest of the reception moved on. People danced, cake got cut. Riley and Connor focused on enjoying their night. I avoided Gregory and Ellen completely. No conversations, no confrontations. Had a better plan, and it involved a Monday morning boardroom. Did the father-daughter dance to my girl, and gave a speech about how proud I was of Riley, and how lucky we were to have Connor in the family. Didn't mention the Ashtons once. I didn't need to. Connor pulled me aside as the night wound down. I'm sorry about my dad's speech. That was out of line. Don't apologize for them. You stood up when it mattered. That's all I care about. Riley joined us, still in her wedding dress. Dad, thank you for not making a scene. I know you could have destroyed them right there. Your wedding isn't the place for that. I smiled. But Monday morning? Well, that's a different story. Monday morning? Connor asked, confused. You'll see. Trust me. Blair appeared, sparkling cider in hand. Whatever you're planning, I hope it's epic. It will be, I said. We all laughed, and for the first time all day, I felt like we were actually celebrating a marriage instead of surviving a battle. Sunday morning, woke up early and went for my usual run. Riley called around 10. Dad, how are you feeling about yesterday? I'm good. You and Connor had a beautiful wedding. That's what matters. Even after his dad's speech? Especially after. You two stood up for yourselves. I'm proud of you both. Connor wants to apologize again. Tell him no apologies are necessary. He's not responsible for his parents' behavior. You two focus on being married. Let me handle Monday. She paused. Dad, what's happening Monday? Board meeting at Ashton Property Group. Just routine business. She was quiet for a second. Wait, what did you do? Nothing yet, but I'm about to do what should have been done 14 months ago when we acquired that company. We? Dad, what are you talking about? I'm confused. You'll find out soon enough. Connor will fill you in after the meeting. Love you, kid. Love you too. And Dad, whatever you're planning, I trust you. Spent Sunday preparing for Monday's board meeting. CFO sent over the updated financial analysis of Ashton Property Group, and it was worse than I thought. They'd been siphoning company funds for personal expenses, hiding it with creative accounting that wouldn't hold up to serious scrutiny, pending lawsuits from 3 different tenants about unsafe building conditions. Employee complaints about management conduct had tripled in the past year. They weren't just bad at their jobs. They were actively harmful to the company and the people who worked there. Sunday evening, my attorney Tom called. Vince, I'm assuming you're going forward with the board meeting tomorrow? Absolutely. Gregory's attorney called me. They're threatening legal action if you harass them at work. I laughed. Harass them? I own the company. I'm allowed to attend board meetings for companies I own. That's what I told them. They backed off pretty quickly once they realized they had no legal standing. Good. See you tomorrow at 9. Monday morning came. I put on my real business attire. Custom suit, Italian leather shoes, the works. Ashton Property Group office was in a downtown Philadelphia high-rise, all glass and steel, trying hard to look prestigious. Took the elevator to the executive floor and walked into the boardroom at exactly 8:55 a.m. My CFO, my attorney, and 2 other board members from my holding company were already there setting up. Ashton Property Group board members started filtering in, all of them confused about the emergency meeting. Gregory and Ellen arrived last, both looking tired but composed. When Gregory saw me sitting at the head of the conference table in my suit, his face went from confusion to annoyance. What are you doing here? Please sit down. We have a lot to discuss. Ellen remained standing. This is a private board meeting. You have no right. My attorney cut her off. Mr. and Mrs. Ashton, I'd strongly suggest you sit down. Mr. Miller has every right to be here. Gregory sat down slowly, exchanging glances with Ellen. Other board members looked equally confused. Walter, an older guy who'd been with the company for decades, spoke up. I apologize, but I don't understand what's happening here. I pulled up the first slide. Simple organizational chart. Miller Holdings at the top, 1 line down to Ashton Property Group at the bottom. My name in the ownership box. For those who don't know me, I'm Vince Miller. 14 months ago, Miller Holdings acquired the majority stake in Ashton Property Group through a standard corporate transaction. The acquisition was structured to maintain operational independence. The room went dead silent. Walter leaned forward, staring at the screen. Ellen's face had gone pale. Gregory's jaw was clenched. That's impossible, Gregory said quietly. The holding company that bought us was Miller Holdings. Mine. I kept my voice level professional. When we acquire companies, we do our due diligence. We review financials, culture, and management practices. And then we make decisions about whether the existing leadership can meet our standards. I clicked to the next slide. Performance metrics. Revenue decline. Employee turnover rate. Client complaints. Profit margin trending negative. Here's what we found. Revenue fell 18% over 3 years. Employee turnover at 62% annually. Client complaints up 40% year over year. 3 active lawsuits from tenants regarding property maintenance failures. Operating margin moved from positive 12% to negative 3%. Walter was reading the numbers with increasing alarm. Other board members shifted in their seats. In addition to performance issues, we identified significant cultural problems. Exit interviews showed consistent patterns of hostile management behavior, disrespect towards staff, and a work environment that drove away talented employees. Ellen tried to speak. These numbers are taken out of context. They're accurate, verified by 3 separate audits. I nodded to my CFO, who slid documentation across the table. Gregory found his voice. You can't just walk in here and... I can, because I own this company. And I should have done this 6 months ago. During your son's engagement and wedding, I watched how you treat people. Your staff at the wedding, your son and his wife, anyone you perceive as beneath you. It confirmed everything the employee data was telling me. I clicked to the next slide. A forensic accounting review completed last week identified misappropriation of company funds totaling $214,000 over 3 years. Personal expenses charged to corporate accounts. Unauthorized use of company resources. Color drained from Gregory's face. He looked like a ghost. Based on performance failures, cultural violations, and financial irregularities, you are both terminated for cause effective immediately. Civil recovery proceedings will begin this week to recoup misappropriated funds. The matter has been referred to our legal counsel for criminal review. Ellen stood up, voice shaking. You can't do this. Who do you think you are? We built this company. Your grandfather built this company. You nearly bankrupted it. Walter will serve as interim CEO while we implement new management structure and oversight. Gregory was staring at the table. What about my son? Connor's performance reviews show strong results despite minimal support from leadership. He stabilized 3 key accounts that were preparing to leave due to poor service response. He also designed and launched a new operations system that cut average response time from 72 hours to 12. Those are measurable achievements. He's being promoted to Director of Operations based on merit. I stood up, gathering my materials. Security will escort you to collect personal items. Your access to company systems has been suspended. You'll be notified of next steps through your attorney. Ellen was crying now. Gregory just sat there, defeated. Walter stood up. Mr. Miller, I should have escalated these issues sooner. I take responsibility for that. You're escalating them now. That's what matters. We'll meet later this week to discuss transition plans. As I walked toward the door, Gregory spoke quietly. This is because of the wedding, isn't it? Because of what I said about your daughter. I stopped and turned back. This is because you failed to meet basic standards. Your behavior at the wedding just confirmed what 14 months of data already told me. Left the building without looking back. 3 months later, the changes at Ashton Property Group were night and day. Walter had stepped up as interim CEO and was doing solid work. Connor had embraced his new role and was implementing systems that should have been in place years ago. Employee morale was up, client complaints were down. For the first time in years, the company was actually profitable. Forensic accounting investigation wrapped up in early December. Gregory and Ellen had misappropriated over $200,000 over 3 years. My legal team sent them formal notification, terminated for cause, civil recovery proceedings initiated, matter under criminal review by the district attorney's office. They tried to fight it, hired attorneys, threatened countersuits. Their lawyer reviewed the documentation and advised them to settle the civil claim and cooperate with the DA's investigation. They did. Alternative was worse. Connor? He officially cut them off completely, changed his phone number, blocked them on all social media, sent a formal letter through his attorney stating he wanted no contact. Blair did the same. Both parents tried to use guilt and family obligation to manipulate them into reconciling, but neither kid budged. Connor told me over dinner one night they had his whole life to be decent parents. They chose status and money over basic human decency. I'm done giving them chances. Riley squeezed his hand. We both are. Consequences for Gregory and Ellen kept stacking up. Word spread quickly about why they'd been fired from their own family company. Country club membership was quietly revoked after several members complained about their treatment of staff. Boards they sat on asked them to resign. Friends stopped returning calls. They tried to start a property management consulting business, trading on the Ashton name and their supposed expertise. Failed within 2 months. By February, they'd sold their main house to cover debts and downsized to a small condo in the suburbs. The vacation home in the Hamptons was gone. Luxury cars were gone. Designer clothes and jewelry got sold off. Went from living like millionaires to living like upper middle class retirees, except without the social connections or respect. Connor heard through his sister that his mother had a complete breakdown when they had to sell the house. Not because she'd lost the house, but because people she considered friends showed up to the estate sale to pick through her things and gossip. Humiliation was complete. Connor admitted one night part of him feels bad for them. They're still my parents. Feeling bad for them doesn't mean you have to let them back in your life, I said. They made choices. Actions have consequences. I know. And honestly, I'm happier without them. Riley and I both are. They were happy. Obvious to anyone who saw them together. Bought a nice townhouse in a neighborhood they actually liked. Riley's career was thriving. Connor was excelling at his new position and getting recognized by industry publications as an innovative young leader in property management. Blair had become close with Riley and was over at their place constantly. The three of them had formed their own little family unit, one built on mutual respect and genuine affection. As for me, I was back to my normal life, running my companies, working with my crew, living modestly despite being able to afford pretty much anything I wanted. The difference was that now my daughter knew the full extent of my business holdings, and she was handling it better than I expected. She said she always knew I was successful, just didn't realize how successful, but it makes sense. I've always kept things low-key, always worked hard, and always treated people with respect. That's a recipe for success in any field. Told her she learned those same lessons. That's why she's doing so well. She said she learned them from me and from Mom when she was old enough to remember her. We were sitting on my back porch, sunset, and a couple of drinks. Riley leaned back in her chair. You know what's wild? His parents spent 8 months trying to convince me I needed to be elevated into their world. Connor finally sees them clearly. And Dad? You got to reveal you're basically Batman. I'm not Batman. Come on. Low profile, secretly powerful. That's Batman to me. Does that make you Batgirl? Obviously. We laughed. 6 months after the wedding, Connor and Riley threw a dinner party at their place. Just close friends and family. Darren and his wife came. Blair flew in from Seattle. A few of Riley's friends from work, and Connor's new colleagues from Ashton Property Group. It was fun, full of laughter and good food. Then Connor pulled me aside during dessert. I need to tell you something. What's up? Blair and I are buying out our parents' remaining shares in Ashton Property Group. We've been working with Walter and your team to structure it. It'll take a few years to pay it off, but we want the Ashton name to mean something good again. Something we can be proud of. That's ambitious. Are you sure you can manage it? With your mentorship? Yeah, I think so. If you're willing to teach me what you know. I smiled. Kid, you're already doing the work. You just need someone to point out what you're doing right and help you avoid the mistakes I made along the way. I'd be honored. Thank you. For everything. You're more of a father to me than my dad ever was. You're a good man, Connor. You stood up for what mattered when it would have been easier to stay quiet. That's all anyone can ask. Riley found us a few minutes later. You two getting emotional back here? Maybe, Connor admitted. Good. I have news too. She looked at me with this expression I recognized from when she was a kid and had a secret she was dying to share. Dad, you're going to be a grandfather. I literally sat down on the couch behind me. Are you serious? Found out yesterday, 12 weeks. We wanted to wait to tell people, but I can't keep secrets from you. I hugged her so tight she had to tell me to ease up. That's amazing, kid, Connor said. Grandpa Vince has a nice ring to it. Have you told your parents? I asked Connor. No, and we're not planning to. This baby is going to grow up surrounded by people who actually love them, not people who use family as a status symbol. What about Blair? Riley asked. Blair appeared with sparkling cider for everyone except Riley. Aunt Blair is already planning to spoil this kid rotten. I just got off the phone with my friend who makes custom baby clothes. I'm going all in. We toasted to new beginnings, to families we choose, to consequences and karma. Toasted to Connor, to Riley, and to their baby. Later that night, driving home, I thought about everything that happened over the past year. Gregory and Ellen had tried to make me feel small, because I didn't fit their definition of success. They ended up losing everything that mattered. Meanwhile, I had my daughter, a son-in-law who'd become like a real son, a grandchild on the way, and a life built on real things. I'd take that trade. Always. YouTube just dropped this new hype feature. If you're hooked on this story, smash that hype button. It tells YouTube this video deserves to blow up, and it keeps even crazier stories coming your way.